Hey, Chris.
Yes, Craig.
You know how I know the VR Oculus Rift is going to be successful?
No, how do you know that?
Because it's not out yet.
Explain.
Don't worry, I will. There was a really awesome story on TechCrunch last week.
Okay.
It was touching on the practicality and why now is the time for VR and virtual reality.
Okay.
Because everybody's like, oh, come on. They've tried this like 10,000 times.
10,001.
Game Boy had that awesome Virtual Boy. Totally successful. Totally awesome.
And only a handful of people got permanent eye damage.
Only a handful. We don't even know how many people are going to get permanent eye damage from the Oculus Rift.
At least it isn't red.
But I'm hoping I'm one of them. That's all I'm going to say.
So, at least it's not red. When you pull your head out from those masks, you'd see only blue.
Welcome to the show, viewers, where me and Chris talk about stuff that interests us.
And hopefully interests you.
That's right.
Hopefully.
And before we move on with this awesome story from TechCrunch and discuss it, let's give you some important information.
Yay.
Yay! You can subscribe to us at www.craigandchris.com, or you can read this story and more at craigandchris.com/flipboard, where our free Flipboard magazine resides.
Yes.
It's awesome. Flipboard's awesome. We love it! Okay, the gentleman we saw this interview from was Palmer Luckey. Okay, basically there was a Q&A session, and they were asking him questions as to why the heck don't we have one yet?
Okay.
Right, you guys had a working demo. It looked sweet. We want one. Right now, as you know, the Oculus Rift is in the development stages.
Yes.
So now, right now, all they have are the development kits.
Needless to say, there's a lot of pressure on it too, I would imagine.
Everybody's excited. Everybody's so excited.
It's been getting a lot of headlines.
So this is why I said at the beginning of the video, it's because it's not out yet. It's why it's going to be successful. So he comes out and he says, there's two limitations that occurred in the VR industry historically. Okay, the first one is that it was real practical VR headsets and technology were really, really expensive.
That makes sense.
For example, Disney Quest. Do you remember Disney Quest?
Yeah.
It was that like 10-story high arcade they used to have, Disney Quest.
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
You get the card swiper and you can play. Well, they used to have a VR headset.
But did they?
It was like boom, like satellite, and it was really
See, that's what I mean. I think I remember seeing like a commercial for that or something.
It was pretty hokey. Those cost $10,000 like a piece.
Weren't you on like
tens of thousands of dollars?
Aladdin rug or something?
You know, dude, you didn't even really walk. I mean, you kind of did, but you kind of didn't. There was like actually a controller that helped you walk, and you had to move around, and there was like this big, huge cable like going up to the ceiling.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
I guess I don't remember it as well as I thought.
It was pretty hokey. But it was, anyways, it was extremely expensive. That was the first problem.
Okay.
And the second problem is if you wanted to make an immersive experience, how could you do it with the hardware we had? Because, like, graphics have just recently, like the past 5 years or so,
made it worth it.
Finally made stuff look realistic.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to make a real immersive experience, and I think he's dead on with this. I think those are probably two of the major limitations of this kind of technology. Now, with like a computer you buy over the counter, $400 or $500, you see it, don't you?
I do.
You just looked up a picture. You looked up a picture of the Disney Quest.
I'm going to show it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, it's like now a cheaper computer can actually render these environments. But he said it's not ready yet.
Okay.
That's why it's not out yet. He goes, believe me, as soon as it's ready to ship, we'll ship it. But he points this out. He goes,
I think people are getting really overly excited for it because let's remember, only a couple months ago did they solve the motion sickness problem.
Yes. Oh, yes, I know. And he goes, and this is one of my favorite quotes he said. He goes, it takes a long time to go from we have a working demo that works in one environment to we have something that is cheap, reliable, and would work in everyone's home without any failure points.
Yeah.
He said some people are like, they got it working, ship it now. And that's like us. Like, we're like, we want one, give us 3. If we shipped it right now, it would be a terrible product, he said. It does fall apart in a lot of scenarios. We know how to fix a lot of those, and we're working on fixing others. And so this is what I mean by having a guy behind the product that really values the success of that product. I think it's really going to make this a successful product.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we talk about this all the time on the show, and it's unfortunate that people stop caring. Like once he could easily just throw, whatever, just release it.
Have people puking all over.
Yeah, just whatever. You know, it could be incomplete, and we'll just ship it anyway.
Yeah.
The second obvious obstacle between the reasons we don't have Oculus Rift, and he nails it on this one too. He goes, the next big obstacle is going to be input. Input is something that haven't really been tackled yet in VR. Are we going to use the motion sensor wristband? Are we going to use
the Maya armband?
The Maya armband? Are we going to use the other thing that you talked about?
Cryo VR.
The VR. How are we going to do input? You know, are they going to use the running one, whatever that one was called?
The Omni?
The Omni? See, I'm terrible with names. I never remember.
See, I think what's going to wind up happening is Oculus Rift, this Cryo VR looks good because it covers your arms and your head and your body, and then you're going to be in the Omni too. You're going to it's going to take you 40 minutes to get ready to game.
That's right. And that's the way it should be in VR. That's right. It's called getting jacked in.
Yeah, it's gonna look like you just walked off the set of Tron.
And I'm looking forward to those days. For what it's worth, he concludes in this article, it's already doing better than any past stab at virtual reality headset. They've already sold an upward of 60,000 headsets, and that's with the hardware still in developer-only state. I think that's awesome news. And as Nate Mitchell pointed out on stage, more people have built software for the Rift in the past year than has been built for virtual reality as a whole concept in the past 20 years before it.
Wow.
So I think this is going to be great. I think just having a guy like this behind it, like the mastermind behind it, who's like kind of making sure that that they're not going to basically corporatize his product or his vision, is going to make this actually happen.
Yeah, no, this is the first...
I'm talking a lot.
This is the first VR one where I've, VR anything that I felt might actually be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people...
I guess I see the value in the Oculus Rift, whereas waving this around to simulate the A button, because that's what the Wiimote really did. You wave this around, it's essentially pushing A million times.
Yep.
Whereas looking around the world you're in, I can see the value there. Right. And it is good to know that they want it to be as perfect as it can be before they release it.
Yeah, especially since it's like his baby.
Because if it's not, it's gonna torpedo it, because we'll just simply say, oh, another one that failed, and then it'll be over.
Oh yeah.
Before it gets a chance to go. So really, he's taking the smart route, because it has to be
good,
exceptional for people to not shelve it
at this point in time. Yeah. Absolutely. And you have to
only because there's been so many failures in the past.
What I like the most is his approach to the practicality of it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, as a guy, he understands us as gamers. If we're going to spend $400 on something, it needs to be a complete product.
Yeah.
Which, there's no developer in existence anymore with that mindset. It's like we can release a half-assed, half-complete game and patch it
later
over the next 2 months. And almost nobody has this kind of mindset going into it, saying, oh, well, we'll release it broken and fix it later. And so I really applaud him for that. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. I really am. I'm genuinely excited.
It is refreshing.
More good news, guys.
Finished when they release it.
And this is a great article from TechCrunch. Check it out at our magazine, craigandchris.com/flipboard.
Yep. There is no way, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you are, the only way that you can make sure these things work is by making people motion sick. And then going, oh, we need to fix it.
Yeah. If only they could find some guinea pigs who would be willing to throw up playing an Oculus Rift.
There's actually a good story involved in development. This goes back to Fable 2, actually. Long time ago, I heard this story and I kind of laughed. And they were doing testing. That was the Fable where you had a dog. Mm-hmm. And they were doing their initial testing, and they handed it over to one of the guys, and the first thing he did was pull out the rubber ball to play catch with the dog, and he threw it off a cliff, and the dog ran off and chased it. And the developer guys go, We never thought of that. So I imagine that's like with something like this, you don't know what people are going to use it for.
Not yet.
How it's going to feel when you actually get people in there.
Well,
so, you need to test the hell out of it.
60,000 developer kits. That's a good test base.
What happens if the first person who gets in there goes and just shakes their head like crazy and then starts puking all over the place?
And then they sue them.
Yeah, exactly. They have to make there's so many things you have to make sure work.
So, what do you guys think of the Oculus Rift?
I'm
glad
they're taking their time.
I'm glad they are too.
Yeah.
And we always appreciate your feedback. And hey, your question might get read on the comment show. So until next time, subscribe. www.craigandchris.com.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been fun, as always.